my friends. Before we get started on today's lesson, I just want to remind you that in Seesaw there is a link to a really great video that shows the traditional algorithm being used for multiplication. So if that is the method that you feel most comfortable doing your multiplication with, then by all means have a review using that video. Today I'm going to show one question being solved in 3 different ways. The first will be using the array model. The second will be using a place value model that you kind of came up with yourselves in the classroom. And the third method is going to be the traditional algorithm, but I'm going to explain it in a way that shows how it is actually a partial product method. Okay, here's the question. 273 times 22. So because I'm using the array model first, I'm going to start by breaking my numbers apart by place value. So my 273 is broken up into 200, 70, and 3. And my 22 is broken apart into 20 and 2. This is not to scale at all. All right, and now what I need to do is multiply each section. And you can think of it as finding the area. So you're looking at length times width. And please forgive me that these rectangles are not to scale even close. So we're going to start with 20 groups of 200, or 200 times 20, and we get 4,000. And then we look at 20 groups of 70, and we get 1,400. And then lastly, it's 20 groups of 3, and that's 60. And you might remember me saying something like, you really just need to multiply the first 2 digits together and then add the zeros onto the end. And that seems like a little bit of a cheat, but because of what we know about place value, it works. All right, and then we look at our 2. We've multiplied all of the 20s. Now we're going to multiply our 2s. 2 groups of 200 is 400. 2 groups of 70 is 140. 2 groups of 3 is 6. And then we add all of those numbers together. And what I can do is I can write it out on the side so that you can see the numbers all written out in their place values. Sometimes it's easier to stack numbers when you're adding a long list of numbers so that you can see where they belong, where each digit belongs, depending on its place value. And then we can do something like, oh, those are all in one place value. 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 So then it's just a 6 here. And in the next one, it's 10. Put a 0 down here and a 1 up here, but that 1 is actually 100. And then 100 plus 400 plus 400 plus 100 is 1,000, and 4,000 plus 1,000 plus 1,000 is 6,000. So our product is going to be 6,006. And that's using the array model. All right, another model that came up in the classroom was kind of like a place value. It was similar to the array model, but without drawing the array. Now that we have a clean background again, we will look at this splitting method. Again, this is very similar to the array. We start with, it doesn't really matter whether we start on the left-hand side or the right-hand side, but we are going to start on the left-hand side, and we will multiply 200 with 20. Then we will multiply 200 with 2. After that, we will multiply 70 with 20. And then we will multiply 70 with 2. And lastly, we will multiply 3 with 20. And we will multiply 3 with 2. And yes, I know, it looks like a mess, but it seems to work really well for a lot of us. So let's get started. 200 multiplied by 20 is equal to 4,000. 200 multiplied by 2 is equal to 400. All right, 70 multiplied by 20 is equal to 1,400. 70 multiplied by 2 is equal to 140. 3 multiplied by 20 is 60. 3 multiplied by 2 is 6. And now it's our job to add each of these numbers up. And really it is the same as our array. This time though, I'm not going to add the numbers up by stacking them. I'll start by just kind of grouping numbers together to make things a little bit easier for me. So I'm going to look at, I'll look at 4,000 plus 1,400. That comes to 5,400. And then with another 400, that makes 5,800. And 5,800 plus 140 would be 5,940 so far. And over here, I still have 60 and 6 to add together. So I'll just say, okay, plus 66. So I grouped my numbers together to make things a little bit easier for me. 5,940 plus 66 equals 6,000. Sorry, 6,006. So while this might seem like it looks like a messy method, it makes sense. All right, the last thing that we're going to do today is look at the traditional algorithm. And in order to answer 273 multiplied by 22 using the traditional algorithm, I need to rewrite it. I need to stack one number on top of the other. All right, when you're following the traditional algorithm, what you need to do is always work from the right-hand side and move to the left. So we look at our 2 and we say 2 times 3. 2 times 3 is 6. We write it right here. And then we look at our 2 again and we multiply it by the next number in line, which is a 7. So 2 times 7 is 14. We put the 4 here. We carry the 1. And lastly, 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 more is 5. Now, the thing is, when we were going through those set of rules, we kind of lost sense of what those numbers really meant. See, when we were doing 2 times 3, that did make 6. But when we multiplied 2 times 7, 2 multiplied by 7, that wasn't multiplying 2 by 7. It was multiplying 2 by 70. So that when we went to write down our 4, it wasn't a 4, it was a 4t. And when we carried our 1, we weren't carrying 1, we were carrying 100, or we were just moving the 100 over. So please, if you're going to use this method, don't forget that those numbers, you were talking about digits. It's 2 times 7 multiplying those digits together, but the real number is not a 7, it's 70. 2 multiplied by 70. 2 multiplied by 200, not 2 multiplied by 2. All right, after we have finished multiplying our single digit 2 by 273, then we move over to our 20 multiplied by 273. And we cannot forget, if we're going through the standard algorithm method, we can't forget that we've used this one already. So we have to get rid of it. Don't use it again by accident. All right, 20 groups of 3 will give us 60. And that is the reason why this 0 placeholder is here. It's not for no reason at all that we put a 0 below our 6. It is because we are not multiplying 2 by 3. It is because we are multiplying 20 by 3. All right, then we do 2, if we're just talking digits, 2 groups of 7 is 14. So we put our 4 here and carry the 1. And then 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1 more is 5. And then we add these numbers together. And we get 6,006. Some people do prefer this method, and that is absolutely fine with me. If you want to do your work today using this method, that is great. I don't want you to forget, however, that this is a partial product method. So on an array, what's happening is you are dividing your 22 into 20 and 2. And you are first multiplying your 2, this 2, by 273, and you're getting 546. And then you're multiplying 20 by 273, and you're getting 5,460. And when you add those together, then you're going to get 6,006. But imagine those are just like 6,006 little tiles created in an array. Just don't forget where those numbers are coming from. And that's it. That's 3 methods of answering the same question. Whichever method you choose to use is fine with me, as long as you show your thinking, show your work. And that's all for this one.